For example, we have all heard that when a house is on fire, which part of the house to save first, right? So it's like when there are urgencies, emergencies in the organization, which part of the, things and which part of the structure or speed or what do you target first? So like in the organizations, there are strategies, there are structures, there are speed. But as the leaders, what is it that you focus more on? And at times we see that in these dynamic times, sometimes strategy, structure, and speed are misaligned. We don't see that they are in sync because sometimes it's easier to work on speed than the strategies, or maybe it's easier to, change the structure than to, realign our strategy. So there is some misalignments that you might have observed in your career. So just to begin with, I would like to, give each of one of you a chance to ask that, have you ever observed this sort of misalignment in your organizations? So maybe, you can share what you have observed and, how did you go about it?
You said which part of the house. I would say which thing would you say first is a better question. That's a larger part. Where I feel in organization, we look at the bigger picture, not going to the ground level. If you ask me what I will save if there's a house unfortunately on fire, I'll save the photographs, not on the camera. The earlier photographs that we used to have, those are more precious than passport. And that's where we should be looking at, going to the micro level and beginning from there. That's where I feel, and that's what we should be looking at. When I say micro level, whenever organizations change, it's always a top-bottom approach. In a way, we should be looking at the people who are getting affected, taking feedback from them, and then moving it upwards. It's the VOE that we should be focused upon, and leaving open to others as well. Then.
Yeah, no, I would completely agree with that. I think people and ultimately who you're servicing, who's giving you the revenue, these are the two parties that even I would focus on. People, because that's what makes your organization, right? And that's ultimately what you're working towards as well. If your employees are not there, then you pretty much cannot function. So employees and whoever is giving you revenue are the two parties that I would look at first. I think in my job role, I come across a lot of organizations where, founders are making very quick decisions and the company isn't being able to cope up with that speed. So my job role as a COO is always to look at the nitty-gritties, look at the processes and make sure that they are running properly and that they are able to match the vision and the speed of CEOs or founders ultimately.
I guess the bigger issue is where is the problem? That's where you need to find, okay, so if you're not able to capture the market, then there is an execution issue. Or if you don't know which is the market or where you need to attack, that's a strategy issue. And you know the market, you know the structure, you have a structure, but you're not able to execute, there is a speed issue. So it's important for us to identify where is the root cause, what is not leading us to grow or grow sustainability. And then you can fix it. It starts from there. There is no fixed point where you will actually start.
I will just add on that point. In my career, I have seen different approaches are played. So sometimes based on where the company stands, they will decide to say, follow the structure or the people or the speed and all that one. And the companies sometimes will decide other way around, also based on what they want to do it. Like primarily to take care of three things, and I call it as VPP, which is what is the value company wants to offer to their buyer or their potential customers. Second is what kind of profit company wants to make from the strategy or the work they are doing. And third, most important pillar is the people that are getting impacted because of the first two things. So how do you optimize this VPP will decide which part of the house you need to save first or which part of the house you want to optimize first. And there is no one answer fits because many times companies decide their strategy or approach based on what is happening in the marketplace. Sometimes companies decide to disrupt the market and create their own industry. And we have seen in the current disruptive kind of world, many companies doing that one and being very successful as well. So the strategy will change and which part of the house you will save will change according to that.
What happens when there's a fire is that people lose confidence. So to me, the biggest thing is about how do I engage with people, communicate with them, and keep people focused on what we need to do. Because the fire is raging, but we need to be clear. I need to do this. Each one has a job to do and keep communicating, whether it's with the people inside or with our customers. Because if you look at today social media is so thing. Something goes wrong, everything goes, and there are people to capitalize on it. So in that context, it's about how do I engage with my customer? How do I engage with my people inside? That is very critical for me, to keep them engaged, keep them focused, keep the confidence going. That's critical, whatever be the fire. So that's what I would say.
I would echo with James. When he says both sides of the coin, you need to take care of it. This is the WIFM part, which is always taught us what is in for me. So if we are able to sell it to both the parties in a very diplomatic manner, wherever the change is happening, be it internal or external, if we hear them out first and then tell them, that comes on the communication part, and we are able to articulate and communicate and keep on going back and take feedbacks as to how things are happening while the fire is still there, it gets extinguished really quickly.
Well, if you ask me, I don't agree with this analogy in the first place, because I think when you say house is on fire, it feels like a more personal, individual effort, right? Whereas when you talk about an organization, it is always much more team, right? And I'm sure everyone will agree, individually, nobody can really do anything, right?
Yeah.
So through that, I think it is very important to be clear about what is critical for the future, and very important for the team together to be clear about what is the path you are looking to take. Of course, you can have whatever strategy, you cannot map out the reality of the next 1 year also, honestly, these days, with any kind of certainty.
Yeah.
But I think directionally, if a broad alignment exists and a broad clarity exists, I think you can rescue most situations. Or forget rescue, that's a slightly negative word, but I think you really come out stronger from almost any situation.
One of the examples that I could think of for this question in this context is Jeff Bezos. He started Amazon pretty much from his basement and then grew to where he is currently. Now, think of the changes that person would have done, right, in his lifetime. Now, in this context of what would you save, right? The way I would approach it, saying everybody looks at where I want to go, what my problems are, and all that. But in that journey, it's also important to note what is working well, right? What is that one vision that worked beautifully well for Amazon, right? And which was customer, right? Keeping customer in front. It doesn't matter whether you were serving customer in a very manual journey. They had a tie-up with the local post, to deliver the goods. Then they realized the customer really wants it next day, right? How can I make it happen? So everything started falling in place when there was a clarity of what was working well, and then how do I then replicate it into my strategy, into my structure, into my pace. Right, I think that would be the one example which would really fit in this context. Otherwise, I mean, when we say strategy also can mean a lot of things, right? Is it directionally looking forward? Are you aiming for new products, new white space in the market, or is it just more operational change in the strategy, right? Which is a matter of, let's say, I was into business A. Now, for me to get into business B, I need a bigger team. I need them in one location. I need them to run at a particular pace, which is where these things come in the context. But I mean, broadly, if you say any business, two things that we always talk about, right? Which is like a vector quantity, direction, and the pace. Both are important, right? But this pace is not, how Arjun said, it's not an individual pace. It's the pace of the organization, and hence it's very important to know, how do I run this chariot, right? When you have so many horses, are they working together? Are they directionally aligned? All these things come into picture.